Learning objectives include what are antimicrobials and antibiotics, who makes them, problems in finding these antibacterials. Let's talk about a little history. Paul Ehrlich was a German microbiologist. He coined the word chemotherapy. His observation was that the organisms could be selectively stained by using various dyes. And that idea actually made him to think that he can come up with something that he called a magic bullet to treat the organism or kill the organism selectively. As this observation was that the microorganisms could be stained without staining the background. In 1928, Alexander Fleming, he was working with Staphylococcus aureus, and he observed that a colony of a mold had inhibitory effect on the growth of Staphylococcus aureus. And when he further probed into this colony of mold, he found that this was a Penicillium notatum colony. He also coined the word antibiotics. Later, another species of Penicillium called Penicillium chrysogenum was used for mass production of penicillin. As you can see here in this picture or photo, that some colonies have clear zones around them, and that is basically inhibitory effect. So where a mold is growing, around that, the mold basically secretes its chemical or substance into the medium that inhibits the growth of the microorganism. So this observation basically led him to isolate penicillin that we still use today. Now, what is the difference between a disinfectant and an antimicrobial? Well, disinfectant basically is a chemical that is toxic to all kinds of cells, whether they're microbial cells or whether they are body cells. But antimicrobial that we are talking about, they are chemicals that are selectively toxic to microbes only. They spare the body cells. They do not kill them. They do not damage them. This is an example where you could see that some of these microbes, they are producing what we call antibiotics. So word antibiotics mean that it's a chemical or a substance which is released or secreted by a microbe, and it works against another microbe. So anti or anti means against. Bio means life. So this is a chemical that works against life. As you can see, Streptomyces has a lot of contribution in making various antibiotics that we use even today. There are bacteria also, like the first example is a Bacillus subtilis. The compound or the antibiotic, it secretes the bacitracin. And then you could see that there are various other compounds released by various microbes. And these are all called antibiotics. Now, the word antibacterial must be differentiated from antibiotics. There are substances that have chemical property against the microbes, but they're not made or released by the microbes. Such chemicals are called antibacterial, antimicrobial. So, antibiotics, when we say antibiotic, that means this is a chemical that was made by a living cell, a living microorganism. So, please remember that difference. Now, what is the problem with this antibiotic discovery? The problem is that although there are many organisms that secrete these antibiotics, but all of them are not useful. Only a couple of them or bunch of them, The reason is that any chemical that you use in the body should not be toxic to the cells of the body. It should be selectively toxic to the microbes. And that is the problem in discovering these antibiotics. So in summary, antibiotics are produced by microbes and their effect is against microbes. And the key to producing these antibiotics is that they should not be toxic to the cells of the body.